Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual neurolinguistic programming and cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court-appointed and private, marriage and relationship coaching, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one session in both French or English and also do group settings. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV Therapy and Coaching Services at 301-325-1550, and our website can be found at lifecoachdanamzalai.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our 9th episode of season 26, a very special guest and author of 10 Minutes to a Happier You, Terri Murphy. And just like every of my past episode, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Terri, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Dan. So happy to be here. For the past 35 plus years, I've been an automotive professional working in sales, sales management, general sales management. I was a corporate trainer and a career development manager for the Highline brands Audi, BMW, and Porsche, among others. Today, I am CEO of my own business, Soul Entrepreneur, and work as an author, speaker, and coach. My main passion and purpose in life is to assist others in becoming happier and to connect with the power within so they can tap into their inner guidance system. My first book, Journey to My Soul, Following Divine Navigation, is a memoir which tells the tale of my success in business, along with my journey within that led me to experience seeing my own soul. My second book, 10 Minutes to a Happier You, Start Your Day in a Positive Way, is an Amazon bestseller and has simple exercises to do in the morning that can be done in less than 10 minutes and will help raise positive vibrations.
That is amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here into the Happiness Journey podcast. So, this podcast is primarily about helping people finding their own happiness. Now, as you and I know, Terri, happiness is very subjective, which means that everyone have different definition of what happiness means to them, depending on what they're actually dealing with at a specific time in their life. So if someone has, for example, cancer, if we ask them what would make you happy, is obviously to be in remission. Someone who's not making enough money, what will make them happy is to be able to be wealthy or to be able to be comfortable in life. So in your 10 minutes to a happier you, define a little bit more strategies on how to help people. Is it like a part of meditation? Is it part of manifestation? What exactly do you recommend for them to do 10 minutes a day to be able to achieve happiness?
Well, it's a little bit of meditation. And I find for me, meditation is what led me to my inner power and happiness. But for many people, they tell me, oh, I can't concentrate. I can't do this. I don't have time. And that's why I came up with this step. It's a simple step. You do movements. First of all, you smile and you breathe and you do movements and exercises that help to quiet. Like when you're doing so many things, your mind has to kind of stop rambling.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you do this for 3 minutes or whatever. Then you sit down and you do a breathing exercise and you fill yourself with positive. We humans can generate any emotion we want on command if we stop to think about it. So first we quiet the mind, then we sit and we just fill ourselves with love, with happiness, whatever brings you joy. But I find gratitude is the basis. Once you're in a state of gratitude, the stress can't get you, but you just sit for a few minutes and put the positive thoughts in before you start your day. And I find that if people will just take that little bit of time, it starts your day in a more positive way. And it has that ripple effect. And over time, it's not immediate, but over time, if you do it continuously, you'll find yourself in a better place.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, consistency is key. But for someone who will say to themselves, well, of course, if someone is dealing with greatness, it's easy for them to think positive. But if someone who's dealing with divorces or sickness or illnesses or bankruptcy, it's very hard to start being positive. So how do you allow them to be able to change their mindset?
Well, it's a funny thing because that's exactly what started me on this path. 40 years ago, I was living in I wanted to die. I just wanted to die. I did not want to live through the next 10 years. I knew it would be over, but I lived separated from my young children. They were 7 and 9 when we separated. Now they were only 2 hours away, so I did get to see them, but it wasn't, back then we didn't have the cell phones or FaceTime or any of that. So I woke up every morning and just thought, another day with it. What are my kids doing? And if I start thinking that,
Yeah.
then I would just not get out of bed. So I had to train my brain to not think about that. So I had to keep my mind busy
Mhm.
and get through the day. And I realized that had I not done that, I wouldn't have the happy life I have today. So it's not easy. It's not easy when you're in a desperate situation, but I'm telling you, it can be done because happiness comes from within and it starts with a mindset. And yes, it's not easy, but it can be done. And if we come from a happier place, our vibration is just different and you attract different things into your life.
Obviously, like it's, like when you read the book, The Secret, we're all a big transmission tower. So what we throw out to the universe, it will come back. So in a
Exactly.
way, um, if let's say someone is dealing with hardship and they if they don't believe in the positive thought that they bring from within themselves, it's very hard to be able to make things happen because it's basically thoughts, action, belief, and that will become things that you want in life. So these are the laws of attraction. But the belief, when you say positive thought that you don't really think is going to happen, the transition is kind of hard to be able to grasp. So how do you be able to retrain the belief part to the thoughts that you put from within?
Okay. Great question. And I work with people with this all the time. So it seems too simple, but really to change things, it's not that difficult. It's just getting into the pattern. So what I like to do is create word tracks for the life you want. So, I've trained salespeople for years. So what I would teach them to do is just say, sit down and create the beliefs you want. Beliefs are just thoughts that repeat themselves over and over again until we believe them. So for instance, selling cars is fun and easy.
Mhm.
I attract all the buyers. I'm a money magnet. So you create this word track and you sit 2 or 3 times a day and just go through them and feel it and feel like I am successful. Not I will be successful because then you're putting it in the future. You have to say I am, even if it feels like a lie at first. But you just sit there and you put your imagination to work and you imagine yourself successful in this career path.
Mhm.
So I say to anybody, whatever you want, create word tracks and you just sit with them for a couple times a day and put them in. And eventually, over time, it doesn't happen overnight, but eventually over time, it'll become a belief and that's what you're going to create.
I see. Okay.
But the thing is, you need to keep yourself in a positive state
That's so true.
because once you get negative, it shuts the whole power off.
That is true. Also, it's the laws of attraction says that you cannot request to the universe what you want or what you need. You just have to say, "I have it already," which means
Exactly.
in a way it's
Exactly.
manifesting the good things happening in your life, even though, as you said, you don't believe it yet. But as you repeat, when you have to come up with a new habit, it takes around 45 to 55 days to implement the new habit or get rid of the old one. So that in
Hmm.
itself tells you that it's not going to happen overnight. But people have the belief that instant gratification, especially in our society, is so common. And when we want something, we just press the click button on Amazon or any other website and we get it immediately. But I think
Exactly.
when changes in life, it doesn't happen the same way.
And it's a good thing it doesn't happen that way. Can you imagine if every thought we had all of a sudden manifested? We would be a muck.
Yes, that is so true. Absolutely. So, what other strategies that you recommend in your 10 minutes to a happier you, to help people, especially those who have gone through years and years of hardship or post-traumatic experiences, or very, very nasty divorce when it comes to the potential of getting remarried? How do you break that past thought and basically go into temporary amnesia to be able to restart from scratch and start being more positive in life?
It's it all starts in the mind. That's all I can tell you. And we have thousands and thousands of thoughts every day, and most of them are contradictory.
Mhm.
And that's why so many people just stay where they are. But you need to first become aware. You have to become aware of what you're thinking, and you have to become aware of what you want and where you want to go and be clear about it. So I always suggest write your goal down, because with all these thousands of thoughts, you can say, well, I want to get married again. But then you think, oh, that's never going to happen. And you have all these contradictions. But if you write it down, I want to get married again. Now your brain goes, oh, that's what we want. Okay. And if you review it often, your brain will help you get to where you want to go if it knows. But again, with all these contradictory thoughts, but most people don't set goals. And if they do have goals, they don't write them down. So
Mm-hmm.
writing it down is a big help. And again, becoming aware. Think about what you want. A lot of times we just focus on what we don't want,
That's yes, exactly.
right?
Now,
So you get the focus on what you want, and it's a slow path, but you can get there.
is it a form of journaling that you're talking about, Terry, when it comes to writing things down, or the writing things down is basically kind of self-help therapy that allows you to share your what happened during the day, either good or bad, and then try to be able to kind of reread it and reassess it?
Yeah. I'm a big believer in journaling because I feel that helps you get it out. So
Mhm.
for years and years, I had journals, but I wrote all the negative stuff down. It wasn't until, oh gosh, it's been a long time now, but maybe 30 years ago, I started saying, well, let's write the positive stuff down. And that helps to change it. I suggest to everybody I train or coach that write at least 3 things down every morning that you're grateful for. 3 different things every morning. And then just sit with it and say, I'm grateful for the sunshine today because it makes me feel so good. And you just sit with it for a minute and fill yourself with gratitude.
Mhm. And when it comes to physical exercises, okay, like fitness and all that, which this should be a definite contributing part to being happier. And yet we see 62% of the population being morbidly overweight or morbidly obese. Isn't that, because mental and physical are supposed to work hand in hand together. So if you miss one part, the mental aspect will never follow.
Correct. I totally believe it's even more than that. It's mental, physical, and spiritual. We're a 3-part being.
Mm.
And think about it. If you're not feeding all 3 parts, it's very hard to sustain happiness. And what most people don't understand is people look for outside. Well, when I get better, I'll feel better. When I get married again, I'll feel better. When I get a better job, I'll be happier. But happiness starts from within. And if you become happy first, you're going to attract more things to make you happier. But
Correct.
it's a 3-part, we are 3 parts. And if you're not feeding all 3 parts, it's hard to sustain happiness.
But then one contributes to the other. So if you're physically, I would say fit, you'll be mentally happier. If you're mentally happier, you'll be able to focus more on the spiritual. So one brings the other. I'm not sure exactly, what, like the question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Again,
Yeah.
what should be first a priority? Is it the spiritual, the mental, or the physical?
Well, they're all 3 are important, but in our physical body, because we live in the physical, I believe for me, myself, I think it's the mental, the mindset. The mindset comes first, and then the rest has to follow, in my opinion.
Okay, and I mean, I agree. And like I've been in fitness for over 30 years, and I always like preach people to think about healthy habit. I mean, like eating habit, exercising regularly, etc. But then as well, when I became a cognitive behavior psychotherapist, then of course my perception about the mental became a priority over the physical. Okay, and but yet it has to have a good balance, like anything in life. You have to know how to be able to juggle all of them together. But the spiritual part is a bit complicated, I would say, because someone would say, well, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. Okay. So they will kind of like include what is spirituality? What would be your definition, Terry, to the section of spiritual?
That's a good question. To me, having had the experience of seeing my own soul, there's a power within us, and we all have it. It doesn't matter what religion, what background, where you come from, it doesn't matter. We have this power within. And that's what I call this spiritual. It's today science and religions are kind of coming together,
Mhm.
because religion has always said, God cannot be created or destroyed. Scientists now say energy cannot be created or destroyed. So to me, it's energy.
Mhm.
The spiritual is an energy field. And in this field, we all swim every day.
It can only be transferred. It cannot be created or destroyed, but just transferred. But then in
Correct.
that aspect, when you said that you saw your soul, did you have some kind of out of body experience to be able to see your soul? I mean, it's what exactly have you seen in your soul?
Well, I went through a very difficult time. I mentioned earlier, separated from my children, that 10-year period. And during that time, I was divinely told that I was going to write a book. Okay. So I started to write, and I'm like, what am I going to write about your life? And I would try to write, but I could not get to the emotions, because in order to get through that 10 years, I pushed down the emotions, I detached from them, and I locked them down. And I was happy up here, but I was holding down all this sadness, I guess I would call it. So my belief system told me that, they say time heals all wounds, but time is never going to heal this, because that time with my kids is never coming back. And
That's
that was my belief. Okay. But then through meditation and everything, I had this release. Okay. And this was back in, I guess it was 2010. I had this cathartic release, and I then was able to hit these emotions. And at the same time, it's funny how the universe works. At the same time, I had a fall, and I had like back and neck issues. So I was in pain. And then I had this emotional release. So I had all these emotions, and I started writing the book. And I finally hit the emotions. And it was this one night I was up for hours, sitting at the computer writing, spilling out all these emotions and my body was physically hurt. It was like every letter every word I wrote, my muscles were saying, no, 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 don't release this, because we've been holding it in for too long. And it was just, I was in so much pain. And I went, and also I had, a family emergency. My son's wife at the time tried to commit suicide.
oh, okay.
And it was a huge winter snowstorm here in Pennsylvania. And I couldn't get to him to help support him. So I was in all this turmoil and really, so I sat in the tub for, taking a hot bath just to relax. I sat on my bed and wrapped myself in a big blanket. And across from my bed is a mirror. So I just went into a meditative state for about 20, 25 minutes. When I opened my eyes, I saw my soul like comforting me.
Mhm.
And then I looked up, and we looked at each other. And then all of a sudden it like retracted into my heart.
Wow.
And it was just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I didn't really understand it at the time. And I didn't talk about it for 3 days. And finally I said to my son, I said, I saw my own soul. He said, Mom, I wouldn't tell anybody about that.
Yes. Well, that's good. Take it with a straitjacket.
So then, and that's when my book title changed. My working title of my book was Think Happy, Be Happy. And then I changed to Journey to My Soul. And I'm like, and first I wrote it in the book, and then I'm like, no, I better not. I took it out, and then I put it back. And I'm like, I had this experience for a reason. I need to talk about it.
Mhm. But do you think that if, let's say, your first book was a memoir or, sharing your own personal story, so if you're writing down, this is some type of journaling, which brings back bad memories, which again contradicts what you have to write about good things and not bad things. So that in itself, do you feel that it was more you confronting your past and sharing it with the world, and then just to kind of close this chapter and never readdress it, or reminiscing it and bringing back again negativity?
I don't look at it as negative anymore.
Okay.
Uh, for me, I've worked through those emotions and everything, and I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't have that experience. So I think it was all part of my journey.
See, so when you help like professional CEOs and all that, what are the most common issue that you see in all the people that you coach? I mean, is it something about self-esteem issue? Is it something about them not really reaching their potential? What exactly is the commonality between all?
The biggest problem I see is stress.
Okay.
People at high levels have high stress, and the stress just like hinders you.
Mhm.
And helping people get over that. And let me think.
Well,
That's a
stress
good
is number one
question.
killer. So how do you avoid them? Because stress is a part of life that we cannot avoid it, we cannot deny it, we cannot like try to hide under a rock and avoid it. But how do you minimize the stress? That's the thing. I mean, by meditation, by making them realize that what they think is like fear, which is false expectation appearing real, is stress similar to that?
Yes. Stress and worry about not making your goal, stress about I don't know, a lot of people in high places feel like a fraud, I find. They feel like, that they're waiting for the other shoe to drop and something bad's going to happen. Um, and not everybody, but a lot of people that I've seen have that issue. But stress is just a number one killer. All it does is take away from your life. And I do have a simple exercise too. If anyone in your audience goes to my website, it's called Stress Buster. It's on there and I'll email you. It's a simple exercise that you can do almost anywhere but except driving a car. And it helps to relieve the stress in instantly. You might have to do it 2 or 3 times, but it's just quick and easy.
Actually, is there anything like, okay, well, meditation allows, breathing techniques allows it as well. But then again,
Exercise is a great
that,
stress relief.
that I agree. But then again, internally, what it affects the organs and the brain, that's something that can it be reversed? Can it be something that if you practice those stress busters or those stress exercise, can you bring back health to internally inside your body?
Well, I'm not qualified really to answer that question, but I believe you can. If you Because our body is a self-healing machine given the right circumstances. So it only got ill because we did something to create that, mostly. Either something in our environment or something within our internal environment.
Hmm.
So I personally believe, but again, I'm not a doctor or I'm not really qualified to speak on that, but I believe when you are in a positive, peaceful state, I'll say peace instead of happiness, when you are in a peaceful state, that your body can regenerate.
Absolutely. And that's what they say, misery attracts misery. So when you are in an environment where there's a lot of toxic people, the best way is to get out of this environment because then you become toxic, you absorb all this negative energy, and then that hinders you short and long term. So that in
Exactly.
itself, people are too afraid because, well, my family member or my mom or my brother or my dad, whatever it is, are toxic. How can I get away from them? So that's the challenging part for everyone, Terry, is that yeah, if it's just an acquaintance, that's very easy. You block their number and hasta la vista, baby. But if it's a family member, you absorb this kind of like, especially their narcissistic personalities that actually
Hmm.
accentuate the issue. But then again, you see that a lot of people sometimes don't have much choices. So
That's true.
manage all of that, and that's the biggest difficulty.
Yes.
So, before we wrap up, actually, can you let us know about what other strategies would you recommend to be able to help people alleviate stress or to find this happier, I would say, soul from within them?
Okay. So that's my passion in life to help people get to that point. But again, it's not easy. But the first thing I would say is if you're called to do it, meditation. And a lot of people just say, "Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it." But you have to remember, if you start out to ride a bike, you don't do it on the first take. You have to do it over and over again until you get to that point. And it's the same thing with meditation. It takes time to get there. And that's why I created the 10 minutes to a happier you because I got tired of hearing people say, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't have time. And the funniest thing is, they say, I don't know who said this, but it just rang a bell with me. If, you should meditate for 20 minutes every day. And if you don't have 20 minutes, meditate for an hour.
Yes, that's actually a good one. Absolutely.
Yeah,
But then again, like I said, it's just a creating a new habit. And if, let's say, for example, people eat every day, okay, even if they don't have time, they find the time to eat, right?
right.
Same thing. I mean, why don't you just let your brain relax, get away from all those obligations that you have on a daily basis? Because again, people are, I think they, instead of being selfish, they're too selfless. They think of other people. But even if you take the analogy or the metaphor of the airplane, if there's a decompression of the cabin, the first thing they tell you to do is to put the mask on yourself first before you help
Exactly.
your family members. So that in itself causes you or creates some kind of like, okay, well, I've got to take care of my own health first before I could even think about taking care of other people. And that's what should be someone's priority. So selfishness when it comes to your health should be a priority, I would say.
Exactly. And same thing with happiness. When you put happiness first, everything in life gets better. But most people wait until something exterior, but happiness comes from within. Just make the decision to be happy. Decide to be happy no matter what, and then you'll create the experiences that create that because happiness is not a destination. Happiness is the ride. It's the way we get there. And it sounds so simple, but it's true. And, you mentioned about habits, and we are all creatures of habit. And to me, it's easier to create a new habit than to change an old one. So that's what I always suggest. Just create new habits. And if you have enough good habits, the bad ones are going to fall away.
That's so true. Exactly. And for usually when it comes to your own journey, Terry, before we conclude, you said it's been years and years. So how many years have you seen a drastic change from within you to say that, oh, it worked, and that's how long it took?
Well, I would say it took for me till I had that cathartic release. It was, it took 3 years of solid meditation to release that. And then from there on, my journey's only increased. So it's been a lot of years.
But everyone is different, obviously. It depends also about the how difficult of a journey everyone is experienced at a given time. So
Hmm.
again, we cannot really rely on the 3 year mark to say that this is how long it's going to take. But
No, no.
it's not overnight. That's the key that everyone has to learn is that it is not overnight, and people should definitely put some emphasis on establishing that change. So, how can people find you, Terry, when it comes to your books and to your coaching help?
The best place to get a hold of me is my website, which is Terri Lynn's Happy Talk, and it's Terry with an I, Lynn with a double N. So Terri Lynn's Happy Talk or www.thinkhappybehappy.com.
Beautiful. Well, Terry, that is all the time that we have for today's podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. And thank you again for participating and inspiring our many listeners with your incredible knowledge in the science of happiness. Now, we hope that you've all enjoyed today's episode. And I'm also very excited about the many upcoming guests that we have scheduled for season 26 of the Happiness Journey podcast, filled with inspirational stories just like the one that you listened today. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. Happiness isn't as far away as it seems. It can be found in the simplest moment, sometime in under 10 minutes. A deep breath, a smile, or a heartfelt conversation can shift your mood instantly. Gratitude, even for the smallest things, has the power to transform your perspective. Movement, music, or stepping outside can bring immediate joy and clarity. Happiness isn't a destination. It is a series of mindful choices made every single day. The key is to focus on the present and embrace the little things that bring life to your life. You have the power to create happiness faster than you think. Start today and watch how quickly joy finds you. My name is Dr. Dan Amzalai, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.